All right, welcome to Astro Roundtable number 5, where the topic that I plan to go into is between the ordinary and reversed wheel of the zodiac. And this is really one of the first classes I've done here with this that is a little bit more on the esoteric side of things. So I'm going to try to simplify this and as swift as possible in such a way. So we've got a counterclockwise motion and a clockwise motion. And when we think about the signs typically with, Aries and the second sign being Taurus in that direction, that's counterclockwise. And that's the direction that the planets also move through the zodiac in real time. If a planet is in Aries, it's going to progress along through Taurus and then Gemini, etc. And then it may retrograde and go back, but then in general, that's the forward motion, is the counterclockwise through the signs. The clockwise direction is the direction of the planets transiting the houses daily. If you look at a live kind of clock of where the planets are, they kind of spin in a clockwise direction up over the horizon. So, for example, the ascendant over on the eastern horizon is the sunrise. And so a planet, is said if it's, sunrise would be at that point, and then it rises throughout the day up to the midheaven. And then, it comes back down around sundown toward the descendant, and then around midnight and such, it is down at the nadir at the bottom. So there's that daily rotation that is clockwise that's happening with the planet through the sky. As well as the counterclockwise direction that we so often think that's the forward motion. The forward motion of the planets through the signs is of a counterclockwise spin, whereas that other spin has them rising and setting in that clockwise fashion. So one thing that makes this a little interesting is that counterclockwise direction of Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, the what we would quote unquote say is the normal direction through the signs, is actually referred to in the esoteric text and such as the reversed wheel. That is actually the reversal. And we'll try and make that make sense in a bit. Whereas the clockwise direction is considered ordinary. And so that's kind of the spin through things that is ordinarily happening, although there is this other reversed wheel happening too. And one of the things that I would say about that is that both of these spins are happening in our lives, in these energies, simultaneously. And if you think about how, with the rising and the setting of planets and how fast a planet would move, throughout a day around. Um, that is the more frequent motion, that ordinary direction, that clockwise direction is happening a lot faster. It's the more mundane, more day to day of things. Whereas the counterclockwise, planets are progressing pretty slowly. Even the moon takes a couple days to progress through a full sign. So that's happening slower. So that's a slower cycle of development in this counterclockwise direction, whereas there's a faster motion of clockwise or ordinary fluctuation. So that reverse is the direction of advancing stages of soul development through evolution towards greater spiritual awakening and collective oneness and unification. And that's kind of nice that that's the kind of the order and the flow that we do study, kind of the cycle of the zodiac. It starts in Aries and goes around and then it finishes in Pisces. And that's kind of what's taught. And that is how the soul evolves through this process that, has, this alpha and omega and then starts over again and all. And it's geared in this sense of becoming more part of the collective, collectivizing, unifying. Um, what we have that we don't think so often about is this opposite or clockwise or ordinary direction, which is the advancing stages of personality development through involution towards greater physical distinction and separation. It's a process of individuation. So we've got this totally opposite cycle that's going to start in Aries and go around the wheel and finish in Taurus. And just thinking about the finishing points in these two, the difference between those signs can tell us a lot. But that ordinary process is how the personality is, in a sense, um, compacting itself and immersing itself into greater materialism, physicality, distinction as an individual that stands out, that's separate, that process, while we still have this spiritualization of the soul and this kind of surrender. Thinking about finishing in Pisces, this relinquishment of everything, the non-physicalness of that total surrender into the everything and nothing of Pisces, how different that is than finishing a cycle in Taurus, which is like sturdy and stable and like a rock. And so that's kind of like the end point in those cycles. Aries begins both, and I'll bring that up again in a minute. Um, as we're going to look at both of these a little bit deeper. So the clockwise direction of the ordinary or involution that points in the way in which spirit involves itself more and more with the material world, more as a distinct, separate individual with a distinct, separate personality, all that kind of the illusion or the separate reality of like I am a unique individual. I am separate from, the herd in a sense. And so it starts with Aries, which is bam, raw initial energy. That is that God blast, that God force of just spark of beginning, big bang, um, initial energy. And that initial energy, when it moves from Aries in a clockwise fashion, it goes into Pisces next. And at that infancy, when we look at, it's going to be different than how we think about the way that we normally do, where Pisces is like this final stage. At this point, as like an infant entry into a second sign, all the things of like um confusion and glamour and that we kind of see those a little bit um higher, and there's a sense of the oneness is still in the mind. The more it's still like in a state of oneness, which is a herd identification. It's like being a part of just all the one. And so it's like one mind, and there's no differentiation, there's no real concept of being a separate anything at that point. It's kind of just like splashing onto the imagination screen of fantastical possibility, but not really having anything drawing a line between what we are and what others are. It's all just this oneness. So, bam, out the gate, we have this like big conglomerate of everything all at once that is a big herd, a big oneness. And then that will move towards Aquarius, which will start to kind of separate in a sense into different groups, different, you could even think of it like species or just different sections. If we've got or you could think like, the one big herd of humanity, and then different cultural and geographical locations and different group affiliations. But it's that going from a one mentality into more of a group affiliated mentality where we're fitting into whatever our group is, our nationality, our whatever. It's becoming more distinct in that stage. Um, and then as it goes into Capricorn, we kind of from whatever group we're in, we identify in this stage of we're all like let me get back real quick. Slideshows are tedious sometimes. All right, so um as we get through this state of again the oneness, like if we were all humanity, and then into what our group affiliated, our nationality, our religion, our group affiliation, we from whatever group affiliation there is some point that we distinguish ourselves. We wish to be distinguished and master some standard of whatever that group affiliation is, whatever those values, those collective values of that group that we've identified are. We then master that societal standard so that we stand out. Um, as we become really good at that, and we're a separate, standout within the group of sorts, then our next state is extending our reach. The Sagittarius stage at this point is that since we have mastered whatever our group and our society values, we can then shoot further. We have further range. Our desires can, explore further. We have more range to our desire for personal satisfaction. What more do we want? You know, we've excelled in society, and so we bridge forth. And then from that aim into Scorpio, we kind of learn how to wheel and deal with others, the business of, how to get what we want. What do others have? I've got all this and I still want more. And, others have these resources and trading resources and doing business so that I can, get the things that I don't have for the things that I do. Um, from that point then into Libra, there's a way in which the resourcefulness and the cutthroatness of how do I just get my desires of Scorpio at this point, when it moves into Libra in this direction, we kind of become more fair and pleasing and diplomatic and cooperating and compromising with others and how we interact and do business, so as to quell and quiet any kind of interferences to make things more peaceful. Because this stage where we're learning, from here we're in the group, and then we excel in the group, and we're moving forth and culturally exploring. And then Scorpio is where we hash into dealing with others, which can be it has all of its intense encounters. So from all of those heavy debts and losses and gains, and from the survivalism, if you will, of dealing with others in Scorpio, we try to find nicer ways to mitigate and navigate the interface of others through that Libra point, becoming more balanced, more fair, more compromising, more pleasing, all of that. And this point will become important again in another point. Um, and then as we continue in that direction, after we have kind of found that point of peace with our dealings with others, we then go into Virgo, where we are again able to perfect our material mastery, our kind of ability to, make the world of matter serve us. We master our craft. Up in Capricorn, when we met Capricorn earlier, we met society's standards. We stood out. We excelled in society's standard in our group first. Now, whatever our craft is more perfected in a sense of how do we use it? How do we use our resources for our um, making us most effective, the most efficient, perfecting ourselves again at that self-improvement point of Virgo. So as we're like, perfecting our craft here, we then move into Leo, and that is where our ego totally blows up at this point in the juncture. This is where we lord one superiority of ego, central importance. After we have, just finished, you know, with Virgo and getting in this direction, um, Leo is the energy of our ego kind of on blast at that point. And it's our way. We're the king of the castle. Everything revolves around us. It is like a golden ticket of self-importance at that point. And then that self-importance becomes, in a sense, more uh tuned into its own world, because again we're going in this different direction where we're coming out of the collective into ourselves. So we've got the self-importance in our work, self-importance in our identity, and then we kind of cocoon and incubate in Cancer, where we prioritize our personality's needs and our subjective comfort the most, so we can kind of become a little bit more who cares about the world or the world standards. And it's me. My feelings are the most important, my home, my family. So it becomes me. And really it's after that Libra point is crossed, that's when the me, starts to pick up more. We came out of the collective, worked with and for the collective, wanted to extend beyond, met others and navigated them, found peace with them. And then now it's I can get into me, my work, my service, my perfectionism, my standout talent, my comfort, my subjective reality is this like point of Cancer here. And then from that, moving into Gemini, Gemini becomes here a point of fine tuning um, all of our mental and behavior maneuvers, since we've just become more subjectively focused on ourselves. It's really about how to navigate and become quick-witted, in a sense. All of the tricky, crafty qualities of Gemini and Mercury, we learn to find a way that most favorably positions ourselves for whatever has safety, whatever has value. We kind of learn to navigate and to communicate in such a way so as that we stay on top, our needs are met most. It's that crafty trickster um, quality of Gemini that is, if one person's got to come out on top and the other on the bottom, let's make sure, we take that path where we got what we needed. And so that mentality of guile and craftiness and quality starts to kick in as the last stage then becomes Taurus, where from all of that, we learn to hold on to, save, accumulate, and hoard the things of value. We've used that Gemini bit to really wheel and deal to get as much as we can and hold it and develop it. And we get more and more set in our personal preferences, our personal ways, like a rock, stubborn about what our tastes are as we become a distinct individual that has set taste, set values, something that is rock solid about themselves. So again, that path is like the personality becoming, it's emerging out of a herd mentality, group mentality, societal mentality, exploring other cultures and people, navigating to exchange and get the resources that we don't have through other people, figuring out how to do these exchanges in nicer ways to make that calmer, and then really getting into our craftsmanship, and our perfectionism, and then our ego, our fun, our entertainment, our play, our comfort, our safety, and then at any means possible is in a pragmatic sense of just really getting really crafty about that to hold on and really solidify that which we see ourselves are. That is that clockwise ordinary path of involution. The other one we're a little bit more familiar with just because it's a story that is told through the signs anyway, even though this is reversed in this esoteric tradition, and this is a path of evolution. And so it too starts in Aries, bam, raw initial energy. That is the God force, that is the alpha, that is, there's so many things with Aries that it's number one. It's just that raw force of energy. And so that starts in this direction as that energy kind of bam has desire and goes out. It kind of congeals. You can think of it like slowing through time, and solidifying into that which felt good, that which we valued, that which we had a taste for. We kind of slow down and develop and accumulate in that sector. It's a solidification of that activity. And so we value and develop those experiences and get really familiar with whatever that first, whatever we produce through those raw bursts of initial desire. Um, as we kind of grab on to our taste and that which we value and want to develop, then we go into Gemini where we want to learn everything about it. We know that we value it and it feels good. It's sensually pleasurable. Those experiences, we learn about it, we exchange information, we cut it open, we dissect it, we analyze it, we look at all the diverse angles to it. We really navigate and move around and learn in that Gemini state. And then that moves us into Cancer, which is kind of like an insulated incubation of all of those desires and those sensory experiences and what we think and our opinions and our mental, basically that energetic, physical, and mental level congeals into this egg bubble of what is our emotional astral infancy in the Cancer sector. And our soul is, in a sense, nurtured. Our soul identity, who we are, what's, our past, all the things that we have done and value and think that is us, we kind of protect it and comfort it. And then as we sit on that little egg and do that and feed it, nourish it, eventually it hatches into Leo, and that's where everything that we are shines. It expresses, it's outward instead of inward. And our talent is showcased, our unique, whatever it is about us that we can express is seen. And then from that creative output, the nuts and bolts and the physical reality and the fine tuning of it is perfected. Our personality, our skills, our resources, our service is improved. This is a refinery for greater effectiveness, greater efficiency, so that we are of most service, so that our performance is its best. And so as we do that, eventually our personality is interfaced and has to balance with that of others. Whatever it is that we do in our job, in our role, in our service, we then engage and interface with others. We relate and coordinate and compromise all of those qualities where we kind of integrate our personality so that it is most pleasant and pleasing for others to deal with, for others to interact with. And so it's our kind of beautification. It's where we become most fair in relating. Um, from that, then the relationships and the qualities that we have with others deepen as we kind of, we all have blind spots and past traumas and things that um, the deeper that we get involved with others, those things boil up as we kind of go through power struggles and we look for ways to have mutual empowerment instead of this, one win, one lose type of interaction. We look for win-win scenarios as we burn through any of the behaviors that are um, adverse to that, all of our problematic shadow psychological issues. So we put on our best face with others in Libra here, and then things kind of get deeper and boil through the complications. And so from that is all those power struggles become power merges. The aim becomes unified as one in Sagittarius with the arrow, and then we have a sense for a vision for the collective. It's like whatever we do as we join with others, in all our relations, and we do business and we merge our power and resources, we then aim to how we want to impact the collective. How do we want to make our mark for in service to society? And so Sagittarius is that vision, it's that inspiration, it's that expanded learning and adventure to excite the goal of what that aim is. And then begins in Capricorn, the hard work, where we take the steps necessary to do that. We have to be patient. We have to wait. We have to go slow and steady. We have to do one step at a time while we're working to achieve the goal and master whatever it is that's the work that we want to do for a collective service. Whatever we've done is just our own thing. We want to extend it. We want to make it uh, something that's more of a cornerstone in society. And then as we master that realm through our career and through whatever it is that we offer to the world, then our world mastery in whatever form it is the network with others. We collaborate, we network, we have other friends, groups, and organizations, and then we elevate our goals. We have more resource, we have more ideas. So we elevate and we progress faster, quicker, and more innovatively. as we are able to reach a wider collective network of society. And then finally in Pisces is this last stage after we've been building, this, grand collective connected network of community in Aquarius, this utopia Camelot concept. All the boundaries of separation are dissolved. It becomes very compassionate and charitable towards all those that have been, the underdogs, those that are disenfranchised, those populations. And we kind of reflect over what our impact was, how well it went, what we were able to do, what we weren't able to do, what we want to do better, and so that we can begin something new. We kind of, melt into imagination, and then bam, we have another new cycle again in Aries, where we work through that same processing. So those are both processing wheels again, where we were going with the ordinary wheel deeper and deeper into who we are, and then just getting more and more identified and distinguished with some sense of our own identity coming out from different herd mentalities, group affiliations towards more of a this is me versus this reversed wheel where we're developing and working through putting ourselves out there in a way where we're joining and merging with others and then kind of unifying into collective unity. Both of those are happening. Um, with these wheels, there is a fulcrum or an opposite Aries alpha point, which is Libra. And Libra is an important sign in both of these. In the same way that Aries starts the wheel in either direction, Libra is opposite Aries, so opposite the beginning at either point. Um, and this is what gives us our clue about the change of direction between the two signs or the two different wheel directions with those flows. So with Libra, we have a sense where everything is equal and balanced. And that is, our needs and the needs of others. We find balance, agreement, compromise, all of that, the fairness of others. Well, um, the two things on both sides, we've got Scorpio and Virgo. And so when we're coming at it from Scorpio, it's like we have been um, kind of cutthroat and who cares, it can be very manipulative. It can be very um, me at whatever expense. And different things that are, shadowy, fear-based, etc. That all coming first, making one really resourceful at being sneaky, at being, all of those controlling, manipulative things, really good. Coming into Libra is where we really figure out how to stay fair and stay light because it keeps things more peaceful and there's less interference. The stage of Libra is balanced. It's kind of quiet. And it makes the agreements and everything easier. So it is a stage of development in the personality to learn you don't want to be nasty and you don't want to be evil all the time in the sense of the worst side of the shadow side. It kind of finds that balance point. Um, and then as it continues from this choice part, if it continues in the ordinary mundane path, it goes into the earth sign, Earth, Virgo, where then it's like, cool, we've gotten rid of the interference from other people. We've made peace and diplomatically navigated relations in the world to get people out of the equation. Then in Virgo, it's like I perfect my one self's subjugative ruling of the material plane. Virgo then becomes about cool, let's just do the earth realm. I'm gonna do it the best. I'm gonna do it perfect. I'm gonna have the best system. I'm going to subjugate the world into my system, into my order, and make everything perfectly routine. That's what Virgo then becomes from that direction. All right. The Libra point again, so that's how it gets hit when it's coming from the ordinary direction. The Libra point where everything is calm, smooth, quiet, at peace, and that peace, um, if we're coming up from Virgo, at Virgo, we were kind of fine-tuning our talent, whatever our creative expression was, we were putting it to work. We were the working girl, the Cinderella, the servant. We were putting it to practice, making it better, getting ourselves together as much as possible, so that then when we meet with Libra, we learn how to take all of that prim and proper virginal maiden Virgo personality that we've perfected and smooth it so that it is even more pleasant and pleasing, cooperative, all of those things, so that it relates well and is attractive, so that we pull somebody in. Coming from that other ways, we're just trying to, from coming from Scorpio, we're into Libra, you're really just trying to neutralize everything else's interference. But coming from Virgo into Libra, you're really trying to attract others through what is fair, pleasant, pleasing. You're building allies instead of cooling down enemies. Like Scorpio land is where you hash out all your enemies. So going into Libra, you're cooling that down. You're making peace. But coming from Virgo, you're the virgin. You're getting yourself together, and then you're going into Libra and you're looking to get married. You're looking to join with somebody. And so that point is what Libra is about. And then we go in to Scorpio, and Scorpio is a water sign, is all about the soul. And it becomes about, okay, you have joined with an other through relating. Now you have to boil through all the deep things there. You've got to boil through the power issues and get to that place of merged empowerment. Um, and this is also synonymous to the personality and the soul. We all have the personality, lower half, and the soul, higher half, spiritual half, whatever. At at Libra, they're both in a perfect equilibrium. When we move down to Virgo, we say, let the lower half rule. When we move up to Scorpio, we say, let the soul and the higher half rule, and we do the battle for the soul. The sign of Scorpio from this position is where you do the battle for the soul wins, so that our needs and the things that we do and the way that we treat others is in soul alignment. It's not about doing whatever so that we get ours. It's having merged interests, merging with our soul, merging with others like that. And so this is where it becomes called the path of probation. Because when you mess up in Scorpio, it will kick you back down. You have to learn to play nice in Libra again. And sometimes, and then it's a choice part, but you can't pass Scorpio's probation until the merged effort, until there's purity, that aim. I mean, the aim is what you're getting ready for with Sagittarius. So you have to purify and eliminate non-essential shadow aspects through that period of probation. You're on soul probation in Scorpio. And again, if we fail those tests, we get burned, and it will kick us into learning how to play nice and fair again. But when we pass the test of Scorpio and the probation, and our soul is what is, it wins when the soul wins at the battle of the soul, then the next stage with Sagittarius is the aspirant. We aspire. To aspire is to like aim high, to go up high. So it's like we lift our head toward heaven, and you expand the scope. You enlarge and expand the scope and the vision for what to do with that merged energy and that soul activation. We aspire for greater unity with God, greater spiritual, this is a spiritualized path. Um, so then we aspire at that direction, the path of aspiration. And from that aiming for the top, aiming for that mastery, um, Capricorn becomes the sign that is about the disciple and the initiate. The disciple is like, the person who does the discipline, and the Capricorn is about the hard work and the discipline it takes to get to the top. No matter how many times you fall down, you perfect what, is necessary over time. So the discipline of a disciple that eventually lands at the initiation. Um, we joke with Cancer and Capricorn, the womb to tomb. So this is like the tomb of the personality. Our personality desires, the desires are pointed in a better direction through Scorpio, and then they are pointed higher and find higher ground in Sagittarius. And then those desire, the desire nature and the lower whatever uh, dies in Capricorn as we become a spiritual initiate. And then as it moves into Aquarius, we become the world servant. The world servant is the aspect of pouring forth water to all people. It's the idea of everybody is served. It's collective utopia, Camelot, fairness, equality, equity, collectivity. And so we serve the world detached from ourselves. It's not about us or our power or our position. We're in tune with what the goal of the collective, the purpose of humanity, the purpose of the hierarchy. We're attuned to those higher purposes that we serve all without attachment. And then finally, we detach further into an unattached position as the world's savior. And that's kind of like the Jesus Christ archetype ideal of like relinquishing everything, having, you're not attached. At this stage, you're like doing work still through your personality, but without any regard for it in Aquarius. Well, then it's like it transcends even further, and you're like doing work as a channel vessel for God directly, like Jesus Christ, miracle magic, world savior, atonement, just kind of washing away all the sins and the errors that are just unusual, we could say, in that Piscean stage. So that's how it finishes out um, through that stage after that Libra point. And again, the Libra point is just so important because it's the choice between the two directions of the wheel and what our soul is doing. But again, I want to point out, we're back to the beginning, both directions are happening. Our personality is holding on and we're getting a grip on who we are. And you have to develop the personality in order to be of any service. So there's that cycle of developing it. But after we have enough of a personality, we have to let go of some things that can be impediments or hold us back. And so there's this other process of letting go and evolving and filling bigger containers. So it's getting smaller and getting bigger simultaneously in two different cycles. So that is everything I think I've got. I wanted to share about the uh, ordinary and reversed wheel. I hope that's got some new fun stuff for people out there, and look forward to sharing more next time. Have a great night, everybody.